Well, I've been thinking about this topic for a little while here. Basically, law of one type stuff. And, the pros and cons of the law of one, of thinking of things from a unified point of view, thinking of things from a unified consciousness, versus the division, the life in parts, life in pieces. You're looking at, the little self, all these different selves, the higher self, the inner child, and the inner child, the little self. I kind of break it into two. The physical body is almost a self in itself, and you almost have to have a conversation with your body. And ideally, the unified approach where you're always in touch with your body and you never lose touch. But I guess let me go through this thing here. The pros and cons of oneness, or the unified view, is perspective. And I think of the view from the International Space Station, see that little blue marble down there and all the trouble and toil that it represents, and here you are in your tin can out in the middle of nowhere. It must be a trip to be there. Maybe the cons of trying to live the law of one is the, where the rubber meets the road in real life. The details, you end up having to focus on parts just to deal with, certain crises. I think you can avoid most of your crises by keeping unified consciousness, but at the same, and here I say synergy. There's a synergistic effect if everything's open and in balance and all that. But make sure no self, in quotes, is neglected. No piece of you is off sulking. I know it sounds a little strange. So, perspective, view from the ISS, focus, the microscope, getting into the detail of some little part. And the con of that is not seeing the forest for the trees, not being able to see the whole, not being able to see the bigger picture. And I'm always harping on people about, they always say, I want this to be my last lifetime. It's so horrible here. I'll never come back. Yeah, all right, we'll see. We'll see. Maybe yes, maybe no. This all came up because I was thinking about the subject of practices that are kind of aesthetic. And a guy who used to be real popular on YouTube did a lot of really good videos way back. I won't even kite his name because he doesn't watch my channel, and I'm probably one or two of you will know who I'm talking about. Anyway, he was real big in the lucid dreaming community. Anyway, he's gone through a real strict thing now where he's only eating for 8 hours of the day, and fasting the other 16. I've kind of presented that in my dieting thing. It's doing a 12 and 12, and I push it a little bit. A lot of times I do 10 and 14 or something like that. But a whole combination of things. He's going to get up at 4 a.m. every day. He's going to do this and that. He's going to write here. He's got a real regimented, almost like a military type thing going on there. I guess the caution I'm thinking is probably a byproduct of me watching all that stuff on Scott Mandelker's channel. I've watched all his videos pretty much, maybe a few at the end here I haven't watched yet, but he's gone all the way through all the books of one and deep discussion and tearing them apart. Plus he's done videos on other stuff too. But that's a lot of video and a lot of time to watch. And I'm not like a groupie of Scott Mandelker. I think he's a little bit off balance in his personal life. Not that it's for me to judge, but he seems to be a little bit on the spectrum of the paranoia. Doesn't live in the USA, thinks we're all, sheeple up down here and the whole shebang with that, like a certain star on shortwave radio. Anyway, so he's kind of down that road, in his personal life. So I'm not totally with the guy, and even some of his mystical stuff is a little bit off. But in general, he's got a real good understanding of Buddhism and the law of one, and how they really intermesh very well. He's gone through some other subjects with pretty good depth. So he's worth listening to. He certainly isn't my guru. I've listened to hundreds of hours of him, though. Anyway, he's getting to the end of the series of the Book of One, where it's more personal stuff with the group. And Carla's having trouble, physical trouble she always did, but they were talking about the martyr complex with her, and how some of this might have actually been her being so bad to her body that it didn't really want to live anymore. I'm not really saying that right. But if oneself, if your emotional self is being neglected, or your physical self is being neglected, and you're soldiering on through, through some real steep Buddhist regimen that you got from Tibet or from where else. A friend of mine from Thailand did the same thing recently, ways back. I should say a friend. He doesn't watch my videos either, but I watched his videos until he stopped. Anyway, I don't know. I don't know if Western man is really geared for suddenly jumping into from a lifestyle of ease to jumping into a lifestyle of total regimentated, I don't know, if it works for him, it's great. I'm not one to judge. So I guess that's what I'm always talking about, balance, perspective, looking at the whole. Not getting too obsessed with any one viewpoint, though, looking at the pieces when you need to. Not neglecting any one portion of your life. Not making one part of your life suffer for the deeds of the other part. I guess fasting in a way, to an extreme could be in the same kind of ballpark. You're hurting your body to, not that short fasts, aren't useful, but long-term fasting or poorly designed fasting, could be harmful to your body, just as an example to throw out. Anyway, so to think about. Comments are welcome, suggestions, comments, subscriptions, of course, share, notify, all that good stuff.